What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, this show is always started by being transparent. I didn't recap tennis from yesterday. I didn't recap tennis. I don't know. I feel like, all right, so here's what happened. My 1% plays, which there were four of them, they were all plus money. They did not win. My plays that were higher than 1%, they all won except for one. So it was kind of like almost like a maybe barely profitable or almost broke even type of last 2 days in tennis. But WNBA had a clean sweep yesterday. I had the under in both games, and I had the links to win that series 2-0. So that's a 4-1 start to the WNBA playoffs for myself. And try to keep that going here today. Vino, it's good to be back with you. How's everything going with you?
Things are good, Skee. Heading into another football weekend here with WNBA playoffs. On top of that, I did not play anything yesterday, so nothing to report on my end. But I did play tonight, so we'll get to talking these games through, analyzing them, and see if we can't cash a couple tickets here tonight.
Let's get to it. Two games and a W. We'll talk a little bit of Thursday night football, and let's get the ladies first. Let's get the W out the way first. That will be 601, 602. Indiana and Atlanta opened up minus 6.5, and it looks like 7.5 popping up. Totals coming down a little bit from 155.5 as low as 153.5. As far as the injury report, Damaris Dantes out for the fever, and we know all the season long injuries that they have. Man, I came on here the other day, Vino, and I said, you know, shout out to the chat too. What up, Itachi? It's good to see you in here. He says, hope y'all been doing well. Yeah, it's good to see you in the chat. Hope everything's been good on your side as well. And shout out to T for reposting the stream. Definitely helps out the show. But I said last time, Vino, I was like, I bet the Dream game one because the Fever were just so depleted. And, you know, they won that first game by double digits. I said, and they played bad. I said, no way, Jordan Canada, Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, play this bad again. And they were worse. This time, game didn't result in a win. Desperation mode for the Fever at home. They were able to play enough defense and win a low scoring game. Now, going back to Atlanta, um, I mean, two bad games in a row for all three players, Rob Veno. I can't help but think that some positive regression here for those three in the Dream at home. How are you seeing this one?
Well, you know me, Skee. I'm all about positive regression, so I think the Dream are going to play well here tonight. There were some things that, to me, were probably one-offs, kind of mirages the other night. And the first thing was the intensity of the Indiana defense, as depleted as they were. I've never seen Indiana play that type of defense all season long. Every possession, they just didn't let up. Whether or not that's sustainable in the other team's arena here tonight, I wouldn't think so. I think that the Indiana crowd, which is always a sellout, which is always vocal, which is always helpful, I think they pushed Indiana. Not that Indiana wouldn't have won without them because they were playing that well, but it did help increase the margin, makes it look a little bit worse. I've got some numbers for you on that starting trio for the Atlanta Dream. Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, Jordan Canada. 2 games played now. They are 21 of 73 from the field. That's 28.8%. I feel like anybody could shoot 28.8% from the floor, and they were 6 for 24 from 3 inside of that. So good 3-point shooters there. Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, very good 3-point shooters. You have to believe that at home tonight, they probably picked those numbers up the way Indiana picked theirs up. I think they scored 68 first game, 77 at home the second game. You know what's funny, Skee, is that first game, like you say, Atlanta won. They played bad. They still got to 80. Playing horrendous. I won't say horrendous, but they didn't even shoot 40%. They didn't play well, those 3 players, their top 3 players, and they still got to 80. So Atlanta's still a good home team, averaging about 85.5 a game. Fever are still 10th in the league in effective field goal percentage allowed. They're just not a good defensive team. The desperation angle, if we played all four home teams that were in desperation mode this past game two, set of game twos, you're 4-0. And so now we get to game three with some of these favorites that are like, wait a minute, we're not going out in 3 games. I think Atlanta takes care of business. The only thing, there's a few ways to play this, for me at least, Skee. I like full game, -7. I do think Atlanta, I think I got a number of 80 on team total. There's mostly 80 and a half, but if you shop hard enough, you'll still find 80. Like I say, they got to 80 without playing well game one. So I think they'll get over that. And then I think first quarter is probably a good look. The Dream were so wrapped up in what they felt were bad referee calls the other day that it kind of disrupted a lot of the stuff they did too. They were so worried about bad ref calls that they weren't concentrating on the other things. I think all that goes out the window here. Their home crowd will be the loud one tonight that'll push them. So we know they're the better team. They're the deeper team. I like Atlanta here those 3 different ways.
Yeah, I can't talk you off. I mean, I agree with all of that. Total wise, to see this come down a little bit, that makes sense to me. The only thing that I don't like is we've had back to back poor offensive performances from the 3 Atlanta players that we mentioned. But if the Fever are going to have a chance to win, it's got to be like last game where it has to be defensive. They're not going to win in a shootout with the players they have on their roster right now. And for Atlanta, they've shown us that they could be a really good defensive team. They've shown us that they can defend the three especially well. I think the total is moving in the right direction. Winner go home game for both teams. I think we'll see defense. So whether dream or under will be my recommendations for this one. B-Man says, is the zigzag theory in effect for the W so far? We'll see if it continues. Yeah, we'll see if it continues here. Let's keep going. We have one more game in the W, and that next one looks like 603, 604. Seattle Storm going back to Las Vegas to take on the Aces. Opened up -7.5 for Las Vegas. C8's pretty much everywhere. Injury report, pretty sure it's clean. Yeah, clean for both of these teams. Now, Veno, man, these are the two most, think about it. I mean, two of the most, I'll say that just in case they're not the two most inconsistent teams. The Aces, though, they found some consistency like we talked about to end the year. They just had that 17-game streak ended in that loss to the Storm. And that was a game that they were controlling. Controlling pretty much until about 6 minutes when Malonga checked in, and they just didn't have anything for her. In that fourth quarter, we saw the Storm play some really good defense. We know that's been, that's a big part of their identity, holding the Aces to 14 points in that fourth quarter comeback. I like what I saw from that Storm team in that last game. Doesn't mean it's going to immediately translate, but one thing I think about Asia, as great of a player as she is, when it's too much length, sometimes she can struggle, especially if she's like just playing that, how do I say, just like the one-on-one type ball, ISO ball, or however you want to call it. Like they're gonna have to move her around and put her in some better positions. So because of the way she struggles versus length, I mean, it makes me think that the Storm can have a chance. And I said the Storm have been kind of inconsistent. I feel like they've been road warriors. Like that situations like this, plus plus some points on the road here. I feel like this is where they've had some success. So I want to look towards a Storm here. I think they found a little bit of something, and I'm curious to see the adjustment that Becky has. What do you think about the side for this game, Veno?
Well, I do think that the Aces are the better team for one full game, and for, like you said, about 34 minutes of the second game, they were the better team. It looked to me like, and Malonga, we talked about her off air, Skee. She has been for about a month now, maybe more than a month. She's been a force for Seattle. There's no question about it. They need her help, and she's provided it most of the time. But it seemed to me that maybe Las Vegas let off the gas pedal a little bit. They were having their way again. This is one series of the bunch where points have come freely. What did they get? 169 the other night, 86, 83. To me, the Aces don't look like they can be stopped offensively. They were stopped, obviously, in desperation mode. 5 minutes left in the game. We have to hang on for our playoff lives, and Seattle did it. And actually, Seattle was losing with about 90 seconds left in the game before they got the lead with maybe a minute or under a minute left. So I think the Aces are better. It's interesting. Whoever just posted is the zigzag theory in effect for the W. You know, something else we haven't talked about yet, and we always talk about in the NBA playoffs, role players play better at home. Do Malonga and Wheeler, the role players, do what they did at home the other night? They scored 22 points combined. Malonga had a double-double, 11 and 10 boards, but does that translate on the road? It didn't in the first game. They got destroyed 102-77. So it just, I was thinking that it's funny how we don't really, and I don't know if there's not enough data on this or what on my end to use these NBA playoff theories and apply them to the W. But it could be that Las Vegas's role players who didn't really step up in game 2, step up in game 3. I think they're better, but I think they'll score, Skee. 102 and then 83 shows me that Seattle really doesn't have a lot of defensive answers for this Las Vegas team. The Las Vegas team total is 83.5. You're asking them to get to 84. It doesn't seem like it's a lot to me the way they've played lately. So I would lean that way. Haven't bet it yet, but I think I'm going to. I think if Las Vegas does lose, well, they don't even have to lose. If they don't cover, they'll at least have 84 points. Maybe something, if you're looking at a Seattle cover, you're looking at 84-77, something like that sounds reasonable. But I think that Vegas will get over their team total.
I kind of disagree a little bit there. I don't really like too much points in this game. When I look at the Aces, I mean, just looking at the last game, they scored what? They scored 83. They shot 29 free throws. Like, are you going to shoot 30 free throws again? Like, that's enough for both teams in a game. I think we could see some regression there. They shot, 37% from three. It's not bad. I could see the Aces being held down. If the Storm clean up, less fouling and play more like in that fourth quarter, I could see it. Now, on the flip side, Becky, man, it gave me flashbacks of my favorite interview from the season. She wasn't that pissed, but they were just asking her about the defense. She was like, her word, trash, garbage, just like that. She said, we didn't have anybody within 8 feet of the other player. I think she said something like that, shooting threes or something like that. But when you hear talking like that, the emphasis is going to be defense. So I think that's the emphasis for both of these teams here. We know, we've seen, even if the game starts out hot, like the games yesterday, just like B-Man said, elimination games, they're going to tighten up. It's win or go home. You're going to get that defense. I like under in this game. Anything else you want to add before we move over to NFL?
No, we covered them good. We can get right to the NFL.
All right, let's get to it. Glad you cashed on those, Jay. Let me see this last comment here. Being a game 3, referees may let them play super physical. They already let them beat each other up anyway. I'm in agreement. We probably won't see all those foul calls and free throws. That's just how I'm viewing it. All right, Vino. And this is my bad. I don't have a banner for it. But I guess while I make the banner, I'll pass it to you. It is Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. It's a home game for the Bills. Opened up -9.5. Now seeing, it's been all over the place, but I'm seeing 11.5 right now. As far as the total, it opened 48.5. I'm seeing 50.5. And I do have a lot of opinions on this game, Vino. But I'm gonna pass it to you first. Where do you want to look at, the side or total? I'm curious. I want to talk about both, but what's catching your attention first in this matchup?
Well, this one's a little difficult because the numbers are both huge, rightfully so. Off of the results of the first 2 weeks, obviously, there's not a lot of room for legitimate debate on the Miami side. I mean, it's hard to argue Miami here when you're trying to handicap this game and you're looking for reasons to bet Miami as poorly as they've been on both sides of the football. They don't even look like they can line up correctly half the time. So the initial reaction is, yeah, Buffalo probably kills them. But of course, the line is the great equalizer, and killing them, could be 30 to 20. I don't know. It could be something within the 11 and a half point, 12-point number here. And then the total of 50 and a half, you would think from what Miami's shown that Buffalo could score at will here. But then you're always worried about these Thursday night games, these short week games that always go under. I don't have the exact number in front of me right now, but I know it's been a constant trend for years. Thursday night unders, 50 and a half. It's hard to get there, especially if it ends up where only one side is scoring, and that being the Buffalo side. I think for Miami, real quick here, just from a fundamental matchup standpoint, Skee, Buffalo's secondary is vulnerable, and Miami's got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and they've got guys, but they can't protect Tua, and Buffalo's got a really good pass rush, so that kind of negates itself. And Tua's so prone to mistakes. They drive the field and then do something stupid. So again, it's really hard. I know Miami, if we were just talking about desperation in the WNBA, Miami's in desperation mode in this game. It's divisional. You have to, at least have your best showing of the year, or at least have your best effort. Whether or not that's good enough, I'm not sure. Again, I think Buffalo's the right side here, Skee, but I can't lay 11 and a half. If you wanted to kind of like shave it down and say, I want Buffalo first half, they're still asking you to cover by more than a touchdown. The number's 7. You need to be up by 8 to win. Unless Buffalo gets a defensive setup for a TD or a defensive score. Kind of difficult. I don't know. I don't want any part of Miami. I'm a little bit afraid to lay it with Buffalo, even though it's divisional and they have to win it too. And as far as total is concerned, I mean, I guess you could make a case for under. I would just have a hard time betting it because I'm an over type guy. So it's really a game full of question marks for me.
Well, a couple things you said. You talked about Thursday night football unders, right? I do know Thursday night double-digit divisional favorites are 14-3 to the under. And usually that means that, those teams have really good defenses. They probably just suffocate the opposing team. I don't know that I view the Bills like that. And the Bills also, I mean, in that same regard, you talk about Tua's protection. That's been a problem for the past, as long as he's been quarterback over there. They've had a terrible offensive line. That's why he's always getting killed. But you're missing a couple key guys for the Bills, right? You're missing Oliver, Ed Oliver. You're missing Milano. Do they still get there? Are they still able to, pressure the quarterback? That's something that I think about. Because if Tua, I mean, he wants to get the ball out quick. He has to because the line sucks. But if he's not getting pressure, crazily, they have weapons who can score. I don't think that this Bills defense is world beat. I don't think that they're I don't view them elite. That's what I'm trying to say. So that made me think that, to what you said about it's not too many reasons for the Dolphins, that makes me think that the Dolphins could have some success. Then you think about, you said desperation, right? I mean, they are 0-2. You lose this game, I mean, season's over already, and they're double-digit underdogs. I think there's something to that, desperation. So I think you'll get a really good effort from the Dolphins because of that. And if Tua just has enough time, I think they can make enough happen to score some points. Now, when I think about that Dolphins defense, they have been terrible. They've been pathetic, really. Gave up 30 pieces in both games so far this season. And the Bills, I mean, all they do is score when they're at home. I think they average 33, 34 points, something like that. They've hit their team total 10 out of 11 home games, something like that. That's all they do is score here. And it's hard to say that they won't score on this Dolphins defense. the one thing everybody's been able to do is run the ball. I mean, uh, was it like I think one of these two teams ran for like 200 yards on the Dolphins. I feel like so. I think James Cook and those guys can have success on the ground. Like even if the Bills get up, what I'm thinking is, if they're trying to milk it and run, they still could have success. It's not like they're just gonna run and the Dolphins are getting stops. They're probably still gonna be picking up chunk yardage.
Right.
So it's been conflicting for me here, Rob. Like I understand the desperation for the Dolphins, but I kind of want to see it before I, put my money on that. It's hard to think that the Bills, can't score in this game. I thought about their team total. I'm all over the place here, Rob. Um, anything that I said stand out to you, or anything else you want to touch on here?
Yeah, I feel like I agree with a lot of it. Let me just say real quick that because when you said team total, I looked at that as well. And I was hoping for 30.5 because I think Buffalo can get to 31, but that's not the case. It's 31.5, 32. And I don't feel like losing by the hook on a 31-20 game or 31-17 game or whatever. At that point, you're asking Buffalo to get 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals, 34, or 5 touchdowns. They could get it, but they're projected maybe slight chance of a couple of periods of rain in Buffalo, which might affect things. But to your point, I think the best point you made, at least the one that I consider to be fundamentally really sound, is no Ed Oliver, no Matt Milano in the middle of that front seven, right? Both of those guys are so huge. And I had said earlier, which is, another factual point here, that their secondary, Buffalo secondary, is vulnerable. They get away with it a little bit because the pass rush is good. But without those two guys, it could be a little different here. You give two a half a tick extra to find these speed guys running across the field. And, Miami always does have that quick strike ability. So it makes me want to say that these two teams can get to 51 in some way, shape, or form. I don't think Miami will quit at the end of the game. The one thing that would scare me is if Buffalo was ahead and you had said double-digit favorites are a huge percentage under play on Thursday night, right? So to me, that means, they get ahead 28-3 and the game just stops. They don't want to score
Mm-hmm.
anymore. That's a scary part too, if that's the way this thing plays out. So if I had to Skee, I would be there with a potential for over. I don't really want to lay it, and I'm too scared to take 11.5. I really am.
So to what we both were saying there, Marcus, he's agreeing. Says Bills will get the lead in the first half and run and chew the clock second half. I'm just unsure that just because they're running and chewing the clock, it doesn't mean they're not going to have success on the ground. Um, I think if the one thing I don't, before I say this, the one thing I don't like about this is the Bills were a really good second half scoring team. They're not the best first half scoring team. But my thought process is in this game, the points come early. I mean, if it is a situation, what we're all thinking, if it is a situation where the Bills get ahead, I mean, they take their foot off the gas, second half slows down. But a first quarter of 9.5, just asking, Bills to go out there and score a touchdown, maybe Dolphins kick a field goal, that doesn't seem too far fetched. For first half, 25. I think the points come earlier, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I think the points come earlier, but I might need a little bit more time. This one might be a game I play, a little bit closer to kickoff. But any thoughts on that first quarter or first half over?
Yes, because if somebody in the chat could help me out here, but I know that there's a number out there, high percentage of Buffalo scoring on their first drive. I forget what the percentage is, but it's a team that comes out and scores on their first drive quite a bit. And to your point, 9.5, looking for a 7-3 first quarter. If Buffalo scores on their first drive, either way, even if they get a 3, I would have to believe that Mike McDaniel's scripted first 15
There you
plays
go.
are going to be the best he has to offer too. And it could take Buffalo a little bit of time, if not all 60 minutes, to adjust to not having Ed Oliver and Matt Milano in that lineup. So early 9.5, which I'm glad you brought it up because it's not something I considered, but that sounds to me as good as anything we've talked about, seeing these two teams get to 10 points in the first quarter.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's see what a couple guys are talking about before we get out of here. Brian H. likes Josh Allen to throw 2 touchdown passes. I mean, I don't have a reason to talk you off of that. I will say his passing yards, I'm looking a little bit more towards under just because if they're running away, I mean, we've talked about a lot of reasons why the passing yards should go under, but touchdown passes, I still could hit. Jay Cash says back-to-back divisional game, beat up on the Jets Sunday, short week versus another divisional team. Buffalo looks easy. If you like Dolphins, take first half, he says. Does it? I mean, I'm going to be honest. When you think about it, I mean, yes, the Dolphins have looked terrible. Buffalo's look great. But, yeah, everybody, and this is just my observation here, Jay and Rob Veno. Everybody, I haven't seen one person. I haven't seen one ticket. I haven't seen one tweet, one ticket, one person say they're taking the Bills minus 12.5. It's everybody wanting to be a smart guy and take the Dolphins plus 12.5. So I don't like the thought of being, on the public dog. That's how I'm viewing the Dolphins now. I didn't view them like that earlier in the week, but everybody want to be a smart guy and take the Dolphins. And to what Atachi's saying, double-digit favorites on Thursday. They just kill it. 73%, 25-9. So like Jay said earlier, easy game to cap, tough game to bet. I need a little bit more time with this one. But I think we did a pretty good job breaking it down to try and help you guys with your decisions. So on that note, we'll move it down to best bets. And I'm not going to put anything up on the screen promo-wise, Rob Veno, but I will ask you if there's anything you would like to promote. And if you do have a best bet for the show, we'd love to hear it. If you don't, it's all good.
Yeah, let me just say real quick, Skee, on for the company that we work for, wagertalk.com. Those of you, I've said it before, but I'll say it again now that so many sports are running in unison here, and it's probably the most important thing in betting sports is to get the best number. And you can get a 7-day free trial to Odds Logic, which is probably the best odds service out there right now, at least the fastest. So you can see these lines moving as big money moves are being made. You can be on top of things before the rest of the public gets there. Again, you go over to wagertalk.com and you can sign up for a free 7-day trial, test it out, see if you like it. If you do, you can make a purchase. If you think it's too overwhelming and you can't understand it, well, then that's another thing. But I would say this, it's pretty simple to use and it's really, really effective and it helps out. So once again, go to Wager Talk, get your free 7-day trial for Odds Logic. Best bet, Skee. I bet a lot on that first game tonight, and I will leave the chat with one of my bets in that game, which is Atlanta first quarter. I know they haven't been the best first half team in the W this year. A lot of the time they were slow starters, big second half team. We mentioned it a lot. They score a lot of points in the second half. But this is a different situation here where I think they were embarrassed. They come back home after being embarrassed. They were frustrated. You're asking this team to be ahead by 3 at the end of one quarter against a depleted Indiana team. You've talked about, where the point's going to come from aside from Kelsey Mitchell. I agree. I think first quarter here, -2 with Atlanta's a good play.
All right, good stuff from Veno. For myself, here's how I'm going to do this. I did just see this. So I did see this before I came on, and I just added the graphics. So I believe the number one person in WNBA, I could be mistaken, but I do think it's Ronald Kabang this season. And in the playoffs last year, and he was number 1, I was number 2. And so far, we both started with a little bit of profit. So they put ours together. If you were to take one person for WNBA playoffs, it would be 198. You can get both for 129. So you're saving $69. And you can, with all these savings, you're almost getting 2 for 1. You can go pick up Rob Veno over there on the side too. So it's a good way to get involved if you would like to in the WNBA. And outside of that, I will mention I do have a 5% best bet going tomorrow. I've already put it in. Feel pretty good about it. 5% have been, profitable this season. So if you want to be involved, you can get it early. Best bet for the show for today. Um, I made a, you can't get the same number as me anymore, but I took under 161 and a half between Seattle and Las Vegas. Best number you can get right now is 159. I really don't think this game gets to 160. Um, I mean, like the focus from like after your coach is telling you that the defense was garbage and you blew a double digit lead to lose the game. I think you're going to play some really good defense in that next elimination game. And for the Storm, when their back was against the wall, you saw what they leaned. You saw what they had. They had to turn it up on the defense to keep their season alive. I think you'll see that again. If not for an entire 40 minutes, definitely for the last 20 minutes of this game. So my best bet for the show is Seattle, Las Vegas. Just so you guys know, my bet will be graded at 161 and a half, but I still think it's worth the play at 159. Veno, I think we did a pretty good job here. A little bit over 30 minutes. We talked out the WNBA playoffs. We talked Thursday night football. And yeah, it's about that time to get out of here. So I always appreciate you taking the time to come cap these games with me. It helps my process. I'm sure you help everybody else out as well. Everybody in the chat, great people, great cappers, bringing great angles, and we're all just trying to help each other win. So appreciate y'all here on YouTube. Everybody else too, whether it's X, Twitch, Kick, Spotify, Apple. We appreciate everybody watching. So last show of the week is tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit of college football. See if we have some things we want to talk about in NFL for the weekend. And we do have one WNBA playoff game 3 for tomorrow as well. So best of luck on all your action tonight. And we will catch you all again tomorrow.